Say my name. Say it. Say it like you know my sin. Woke up to a world gone black. Every eye on my back. Every voice speaks in code, like they know what I don't. Hands clean but they don't care. Truth dies in the air. I can feel it closing in like a sickness on my skin. They don't want truth, they want a fake. Something easy they can't replace. I feel it crawling under my skin. Tell me, where do I begin? Play devil's advocate for me now. Break their story, show me how. If I'm wrong, then let me see. But no one stands, no one speaks. Say my name like I'm the curse. Say it loud, make it worse. If I'm the monster they believe, then I'll be what they need. Every whisper feeds the flame. Every shadow knows my name. I don't recognize that man, but they swear I am what I am. Walls talk when I'm alone. Truth cracks in the tone. Every doubt starts to fade. Every lie feels like fate. No one's coming, no one fights. No one questions wrong or right. If I scream, it feeds the sound of a king without a crown. Play devil's advocate for me now. Tear it open, break it down. If there's truth, let it breathe, or just bury it with me. Say my name like I'm the curse. Drag me deep or make it worse. If I'm the monster they believe, then I'll be what they need. Say it, say it, say it again. Say it, say it, say it again. You want a villain, I can feel it. You need a reason, I'll be coming. You built the cage, I'm living in it. Now watch me wear it like I meant it. Say my name, say my name. Feed the fire, feed the flame. Say my name, say my name. Feed the fire. Don't play devil's advocate for me now. There's no truth left to be found. You made the shape, I'll fit inside. Let it live, let it ride. Say my name like I'm the curse. I am everything you've rehearsed. If I'm the monster that you believe, then I'll be what you need. Say my name. Say it again. Say it like you know my sin. close the night out right. Panel at the table in that half-dead light. Miss Robin in the middle, calling every shot, directing and producing, till the story runs hot. 1-1 from the city, badge heavy on his chest, towing that law like a wicked chain, spitting facts, no rest. Crimes after dark, we close the night out right. Tear through the lies till the wrong sounds like a fight. All of the answers buried so deep out of sight. We watch the threads unravel, we watch the threads ignite. JJ in the corner, state of the deep in his head. Which lies to toss and which ones to keep instead. Dago from the cafe says forget about it, leans back, spins his thoughts like a blade cutting holes in the track. Lee at the front, head advocate, steady stare, every word like a warning, every silence a dare. All of them leaning in, clock crawling, eyes bright. Every secret feels louder than the buzzing of the night. Crimes after dark, we close the night out right. Tear through the lies till the wrong sounds like a fight. All of the answers buried so deep out of sight. We watch the threads unravel, we watch the threads ignite. You can bury it in paper, you can lock it in a file, but the truth bleeds through, drip by drip, tile by tile. We're dragging it to daylight, name by name, line by line. If you wrote it in the shadows, we'll read it out this time. Yeah. Crimes after dark, we close the night out right. Tear through the lies till the wrong sounds like a fight. All of the answers buried so deep out of sight. We watch the threads unravel, we watch the threads ignite.
All right, everybody, welcome to a Crimes After Dark show on a Saturday night. Hopefully everything sounds okay and looks okay. I've rearranged studio lighting, which I did last minute, so I got a little bit of a shadow. I'll work on that. The sound may be a little different because I pushed things around. My studio is a little bit rebuilt out, which I'm feeling very, very positive about, although it feels a little echoey. Anyways, welcome to a Crimes After Dark show. I wanted to say that I have a few people that contact me privately. I've been having conversations with people who are local. One of the people who are local to me told me that my biggest fan actually lives in the UK and gets up at 4 o'clock every morning to watch this show. So shout out to Maggie from is it Telford or Telford? I think it's Telford, UK. So Maggie, if you're listening, I've been told you are the biggest fan and that you don't miss a show and that you wake up to do it. So I hope you're listening. Hope you didn't get to miss it. Thanks for watching the show. And for all of you who support us internationally from Australia, UK, all over the place. I mean, the countries actually are enormous. I forget all of them. There's really some obscure ones on the list, but big heavy hitters are UK, and of course, Australia and the United States, big heavy hitters, but we've got places all over and all over the US. So We're a little light tonight. We don't have Dago. That was normal for his night off. We don't have 1-1. That's not normal. His shift, his schedule is moving around. So his new duties, I guess he's just not going to be able to make it tonight, but that's okay. I think we're going to have him tomorrow night for our Sunday edition of Crimes After Dark as they start talking about the Black Dahlia. We have Sunday shows a little different. Anyways, I'm rambling for a long ways. We're going to try to open up. This is a great night for people to ask questions. Specifically, I want to try to address groups of questions that didn't get addressed during the interview, the 4-hour marathon interview with Christopher Whitcomb, 2 hours pre-recorded, and then another 2 hours with my panel. And a little bit again more about how the whole community, true crime community, seems to be splitting down the middle now over this Christopher Whitcomb book, the Broken Plea. So, anyways, let's get the panelists that we have tonight, which is Robin and JJ. Let's get them up on stage. How you guys doing tonight?
All right. How are you guys?
I'm great. What's up,
I'm
DA?
ready.
What's up, Robin? Dennis?
Good to see you.
Hey.
Mods. Hello.
Yes, good to see everyone here in the chat. Welcome on in.
Yeah.
If I sound a little different, it's because we painted today and rearranged the room somewhat. We're still not done painting. We've got to finish tomorrow. So I also may sound a little echoey. I don't know.
We're all a little out of funk tonight, so we'll see how it goes. By the way, I saw in the chat earlier that the Murphy song is not up on our Spotify playlist. I don't know if you guys have the link to post for the Spotify playlist, but
yes, I do.
We have an increasingly good music library that we're building for this show. We have some talented people. We all kind of come from an era where we can all appreciate the same kind of vibes, and so I feel like a lot of people like the selection that we've all put together. And so we are going to get those music. If Murphy's not there, we'll put it up there. The Murphy song, I'll play us out tonight, by the way, with Murphy, for those who didn't hear it and are waiting for it. I'll try to get it up to Spotify as soon as possible. I'm glad you're back, Robin. You froze with your mouth open in one of those awkward positions. And it was just kind of like, I don't know. Yeah, something like that. Something like that. So anyways, what's on your mind tonight, guys? I want to take some questions, or if we don't get questions or we don't get any, this is a great night, by the way. Put the post out there for people to join us backstage.
Okay.
This would be a great night for live engagement. But if not, I'm going to share with you some of the questions that I know that I gathered and kind of collected into bunches. All right, let's take a look. What do you guys, what's on your mind? Anything happening today that you guys know of?
Nothing outrageous, just getting stuff done. I did watch Dago's stream with Jeffrey, the forensic crime scene analyst.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because he doesn't have, I don't know that he has like every single piece of evidence that's been already put out for the case. I know he's familiar with the case. I don't know how much information he has on that, but it was very interesting. He's a total nerd, and I love it. He's so into it, man. He's like really loves what he does, so I can appreciate that.
Yeah. And by the way, so Happy Hound said that they would love to hear our breakdown of Jules and A.R. Hayes. So I haven't. So here's the thing, unfortunately, and this is not an ego thing. I just haven't had the time to watch other YouTubers, especially since some of those people stream for hours and hours, and I can't possibly do it. So I did see from the title, A.R. Hayes had kind of a negative, I think Chris is full of bullshit, kind of was what the title. I can't remember how the exact title was, but I've read his book and I cry bullshit on his book. I know Jules is ripping him up. I know that the book is starting to divide people. So let's talk about that a little bit. Now, if you have a specific criticism that they had, I'd be happy to talk about the specific criticism, because I haven't watched their streams. I know generalities. People are saying he got things wrong about the black SUV, and Pavarotti pointed out that it wasn't the same vehicle. So look, my response of that is, keep in mind that just like you and me, Christopher could have been wrong on what he saw. We see and hear things differently. Think of how many people over the course of this case have played audio and said, you 100% can hear such and such, and I don't hear what they hear. And we've argued about it ad nauseum. So if somebody puts in a book, so-and-so said this because I heard it, you could say bullshit. That's not what he said. I heard something different. So at the end of the day, if Christopher hears the same engine and he thinks it's the same engine and he got it wrong, maybe you can cut him a little slack if he was indeed wrong. So I know that people are trying to shred him as if that somehow makes him a disinformation specialist because he purposely got it wrong. Like he can't have actually made a mistake. I don't know. I don't even know if he did make a mistake, but I do know that that's out there. What other criticisms are there about Chris's book that Jules and A.R. Hayes and others are calling out? I'm curious.
Well, I think the main thing is that they were hoping, as were many of us, but that he hadn't really shown any like new photos or documents, that kind of thing, which could be kind of hard to do, depending. So, because he does kind of, and the publisher may not allow him to do it either. So, I don't know if they were hoping he might include some things like that in his book, which is possible. I know that's one of the criticisms out there right now.
I mean, Robin, you as an author, you probably know, and I'm guessing I know a little bit about the publishing world. When you start adding photos and color photos, the cost of that book goes way up for
Yes.
producing it, right? So
Yes.
it can be
Yes.
it can be a cost decision on the publisher. It's not worth it to put the color photos in there because it's going to up the cost of our costs, and
Right.
we may not recoup our costs, and all those things go into the
And
factors.
also keep in mind, Amazon has very strict rules about the types of photos that they allow in books.
Right.
And so
and
therefore,
crime scene photos,
if it's of a crime scene photo or, that kind of thing, that would not fly with Amazon. They would either flag the book or they would bury it, even if it comes from a bigger publisher, because they're very, hell, they freaking do the same shit to romance books, depending on if the front cover is too damn sexy.
Oh shit! I could never put together a cover. They'd be in trouble. I'd be in deep shit. All right,
Right. Yeah.
So we do have Happy Hounds backstage.
There.
Yeah, right. And so Happy Hounds, we'll get to you in just a second. My point too is that, just like you said, one, I don't think he wants graphic, sensational photos or crime scene photos and stuff like that to get in there. So what did you expect on that? Like, he's not going to put bloody photos in the picture. But first of all, there's a ban on bloody photos supposed to be being out there in the first place. So he couldn't do that. So a lot of the photos, but yeah, sure. Could he have shown a picture of the SUV and still images and stuff like that? Sure. But again, the costs association, I don't think he was hiding anything per se. In fact, the publisher is the one that pulled a whole chapter of his book and said, we don't want that chapter in the book. So it's not all entirely up to him. In fact, a lot of it's not up to him, what actually gets into the final book and gets published. Editors will suggest what will make a good book and won't, what chapter is going to get them in trouble or whatever. So, all right, let's get Happy Hounds up on screen with us. And how you doing today?
Hey, I just turned my headphones off. I've been on Dago before, and maybe I should come back in again because now I can't hear anything. So I'm going to put my headphones back on.
Okay. You want to try to come back in? Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm just going to turn them, or maybe they'll just I just turn them on. Maybe it won't do anything. Just one. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. We've heard you the whole time. The question is, can you hear us?
Oh, good. Yes, now I can hear you very well. Thanks for having me on. And man, you guys have just been so awesome with this whole thing. So I really appreciate you. And Robin, it was great to hear you go off last night.
Well, I'll do it more. I'll do it more if people want it, because I got plenty to bring.
Good for the women of the world. So I'm elderly, and I've been around a lot in the world, but I have learned so much from the YouTube crime thing, which I only started listening to because I used to live in Moscow like the day after the crime. And in the beginning, I was just, it was, I Googled it, and then one of the things was YouTube, but it was kind of when everybody didn't know, and we all believed. And since then, somehow I ended up, realizing something was wrong. Yeah. So when I didn't even watch Dateline and some of those things because I couldn't handle what I knew that they would do to them.
Yeah.
And it also changed my mind. I always thought those shows were, how could you lie on TV? I mean, that's where I come from, right?
Yeah.
How can you, and I knew that Patterson's book was listed as nonfiction. So, okay, I haven't looked about this one, but I thought he's an ex-FBI, blah, blah, blah. He's not going to lie. Okay, so I'm not saying he's lying. But so everything that I've heard, and he seems, I'm a pretty good judge of character generally. He seems very sincere to me. And it made sense to me that he wouldn't have a bias, say, about his profession. His brother's a cop. He's been involved with cops. I'm sure he has inside info from cops and law establishment. But Jules, of course, is a lot of people say they don't like her, but she is just passionate about what she does. And her whole criticism was about not really being able to show receipts. And I get that. And that just kind of made me think, like, because sometimes she'd, say a quote of his and then she'd say, well, do you have that? So then, of course, I'm thinking, well, does he have that?
Yeah.
I'm wondering, I just think it would be so neat to somehow, and A.R. Hayes also, who I really admire his point of view, and he knows a lot about the prison system, right? I think that they both had valid questions.
Yeah.
And most of it, so many, they seem to think he's only in it for the bucks, which of course, as soon as he said, I'm not in it for the bucks, I said, oh, of course he's not. But then I thought, well, maybe he is. And I'm just going to add this before I let you answer.
Sure. Yeah.
I always thought that, okay, so this whole thing, State of the Deep. I mean, when I first saw that right away, months ago, it was maybe on your show, but it was several months ago that I was really excited about it because it was at least going to be a glimmer of a different narrative. And I never thought about, and I thought that you guys, channel people, the channel people, creative, somehow get a hold of their PR person and say, we'd love to have him come on our show. That's just what the ass out of you and me. That's what I assumed. But now it seems that I'm learning that he sent books to certain people and not other people. And one of the big narratives is that he only sent them to people who think Koberger is innocent. What do you think of all that?
I would love to answer all that. There's a lot of things you had in there. So let me see if I can address all of the things that you said.
Yeah.
One, I don't think he's doing it for the money. The guy was speaking from a very beautiful house where he was at with all kinds of extremely expensive.
I heard you say that, and I'm going to interrupt as if I were Jules. Oh yeah, right. Not in it for the money. Okay, go ahead.
To be fair, there's never enough money for some people, right? But what I'm saying is the guy's got multiple houses in multiple countries and multiple states. He's not hurting for money. And what his point was, and some people missed, was he's not caring about the number of sales because he's already been paid for the book.
Oh, that was another big form of contention.
Right.
Why was he already paid? That was another big form of contention.
I can answer you that. Answer you that. A lot of publishers will pay you in advance. Mm-hmm. And depending on your contract, there are some publishers who will also give you a percentage of the royalties, but not always, depending on what deal you work out. So sometimes you just get a flat payment for your book. And then whatever the publisher makes on sales above and beyond that is the publisher's. So it really depends on how you work that out, how your agent, and the publisher work it out. So what he was saying was once he got paid his fee for the book, his advance, then he's not going to make any more money no matter how many books that it sells. So what he's saying is he's not just he's doing his due diligence for the publisher, but he's mainly just trying to get the word out that there are questions to be asked about things.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I get that.
Yeah.
So there's two more points that I have that I wanted to comment. One, his treatment of law enforcement, and then the second one will be the advanced copies of the books. So as to the law enforcement, 100%. He's former FBI. He lists his colleague, one of his colleagues in the FBI is Christopher Holland, mentioned in the book, as one of the people that likely let him see some stuff. He had law enforcement. He had files.
His brother is a cop. Yeah.
Right. So understand and look, I want to push back on. There's some people in the chat that are like think that I'm dumb. I'm not dumb. So if you think that I'm just being played because I don't understand what's going on, I know what's going on. So for those of you who think that I'm a moron, I wish I could convince you otherwise, but whatever. If I'm a moron, you think I'm a moron, but I'm smarter than you think. The point being is that he has law enforcement friends. And I believe he did not tell me his sources, as he's not going to tell anybody his sources. Right. I believe his sources came from within law enforcement and from the prosecution's side. And the way what I believe, because I read between the lines, there are people on the prosecution side who do not like the bullshit that happened in this case. They're gag ordered. They can't say anything because they're under gag order.
Are you sure they're still gag ordered?
Yes.
I thought they were not.
They are still there. There's tons of stuff still gagged, and they cannot speak freely about certain things. So there's tons of things that are gagged. That's what I
even though the case is closed. Somebody with a law said there is no gag order, actual gag order since the case closed. I haven't looked it up, bud.
Let me explain that. The judge has to unseal everything that's been gagged. It does not automatically get opened. Hippler has to ungag every single piece, and he's been doing it a little bit at a time. There's tons still under gag order because Hippler has not lifted the gag order. So it is not true that when the case closed, everything just opened up. He has to every single piece decide if it's in the public's best interest to open it up or whether there's still reasons to conceal it. Lots is still concealed. So that's the answer to that. So yes, he is pro law enforcement. You can tell by the way he talks that he doesn't want to shit all over law enforcement. That doesn't mean, as one would say if he was here, Captain 1-1, even good cops don't like bad cops. So if you're a good cop, that doesn't mean you just turn a blind eye to fuckery that happened in your apartment. But the same token, you're going to lose your job and you're going to lose a lot of respect if you start shitting all over law enforcement. So they've got to ride a very, very, very fine line. So I would argue that the book is exactly that. He's trying to tell you people want the truth to come out, but we can't say what we can't say yet because people will be actually go to jail for violating the gag order. So he has to be very careful.
How many people have said when he said that MPD did a wonderful job, that sent them down the freaking tube?
100%.
Why would he say that, do you think? Because he believes
well, that's a good question. And I'm not speaking for Chris, but it's a great question. Right. I knew as soon as he said, hey, I have respect for Bill Thompson, that he was going to lose a shit ton of people. When he said that I think the cops did a really great job. He's going to lose a lot of people. Because look, and here's the thing, pay attention. This is the really difficult part. Pay attention to what he says in the book. He points out numerous things that the cops did wrong and mistakes they made.
In his mouth too. I agree.
Right. So people will say that makes him a hypocrite. He's talking out of both sides of the mouth. He says the cops did a great job while simultaneously showing you all the things they messed up because he can't shit all over law enforcement. He's just trying to show you where the problems are without bad-mouthing them. So I think that's a little bit what's going on. And take it for what it's worth. If you think I'm trying to, pussyfoot the law for, it bothered a lot of people.
No. I like your opinion. And now what about the books?
So let me tell you what happened from our perspective, because I think it happened to a lot of things. I actually reached out to the producer or to the publisher.
Oh, okay.
So when I heard the book was coming out and I read the jacket, I said, oh my God, this book looks like it might not be a hit piece for once. It looks like it's actually going to suggest that maybe they got something wrong. Even the title Broken Plea suggests they may have gotten something wrong. Right. So I reached out to the publisher. I was surprised when the publisher said, yes, Chris is interested in going on with you. And I said, great. Can I do a pre-recorded show with them before the book drops? And they said, yes. And I said, well, great. Can I get a copy of the book so I can actually read the book before the interview? That was all me. I asked
That's how I thought it happened, but
right. Yeah. And so
he send books to other people though? I mean, without asking?
Well, let me clarify this. Books didn't get sent out, as far as I know, in hard copy. People got advanced copy of a digital copy of the book so they could read it and prepare for interviews that were done ahead of time. So yes, some people got advanced copy. Yes and no. Yes and no. So and to me, and so I get the criticism. So I have no problem with
I just want to be able to give another answer when I see those things. Yeah.
So Chris's book is very what did he referred to the YouTube community and us as the new era,
Absolutely.
the new era of news. And so I think Chris was trying to put a nod to mainstream media is not doing its job. And so by going with YouTubers first, it was his way of saying, look, you're the new era of news and information. You're doing actual what the journalists used to have to do, right? Which is actually do legwork and do research and stuff like that. And so I think his book gave a nod to the research, to the YouTube community, and he also purposely wanted to go with YouTubers first before mainstream media to show that he supports the true crime community. In fact, he says in the book, it's up to you true crime sleuthers to go fix this problem.
I agree.
Because right, so that's why he went with YouTubers first.
But that's not I made the wrong question. He only went to YouTubers. Like, did he? I don't even know if the Drunk Turkey show is still on, but did he go to Nancy Disgrace? I'm sorry, Nancy Grace, or you, or somebody who's really against him? Is he going to be on those shows? So people said, "Oh no, he hasn't been on any of those."
He just did an interview with News Nation Brian's Enton, who's basically a guilter.
Yeah.
So Brian Enton interviewed him. He did Fox Digital recently. I think he's going on NBC. I think he's going to be going with Banfield. So yeah, he's going to be going with plenty of people who don't believe Kohberger's innocence and in fact, Christopher is very, very careful to not say that Kohberger is innocent. Here's the tricky part. What he does in the book is he says it's not possible for one person to have done it in the amount of time. And if you look at it, what he's not saying is there's no evidence Brian Kohberger was even there. So while he's saying, he'll say you have to accept that he did it because he said he did, but the facts don't bear it out. It was done by more than one person, and there's not really any evidence that Kohberger was in the house. But he said he did. So what are you gonna do with it? And he's being very, very careful.
As a writer, I think he has phrased everything really well. But it's that phrasing that I think I understand that puts his motives in question to some other people.
100%. Real quick, let me answer Leah. First of all, Leah, real quick, and I want JJ to answer you because I know a lot of your question was kind of probably really focused on JJ as well. So Leah Churchill, thank you for the gift on that. Does the book mention what happened to the Amazon knife Kohberger bought? I know the one used for the crime was not found, but was this ever found? The knife has never been found. The knife sheath, in my opinion, was amounted to a little bit of fuckery. His mother has been very vocal that she's the one that told him to get the knife because she wanted him to have protection in case he was out on his runs and had to protect himself with bears. She was the one that actually suggested he buy that knife. But anyways, the book doesn't talk.
I'm glad you saw that thing from the Daily Mail.
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah. Okay,
so
JJ, yeah.
Hi, Happy Hounds.
Welcome.
Very well said. Thank you for coming up.
Thank you.
I'll speak to a couple of different things. The first thing is Jules. Her big criticism for what I saw initially was this whole trust me, bro way of approaching it. Like, I saw things.
Jules is funny. Yeah.
Trust me, bro, which I tend to agree with her. You can't come to a community that has been looking at this and people like Jules and Lana and everybody that's been FOIA-ing, requesting public information and so on, and then just dismiss things that are widely questioned parts of the narrative and parts of the evidence. That's the first thing. The second thing, this case, by every account that we have seen, has national security implications. So they could literally tell us whatever they want to tell us and keep sealed or redacted or gag order, however you want to, depending which part of the case you're looking at, because that would supersede everything. Judge Hippler does not have the power to override a federal agency. You can be sure of that, especially with a national security issue. First and foremost, that would override him. Right. Now, I have a slightly different, probably a little bit different, at the very least, maybe a lot different take on a lot of this stuff. I look at things, as I always say, I look at the big picture. And so I don't just say, oh, this guy could be controlled opposition. I say why also. Okay. That if if in fact there was an operation involved that went sideways, this is all hypothetical.
Right.
They don't want the public to know about that.
Right.
Okay. Especially if there were multiple agencies involved. And he downplayed certain things. For example, DHS. He said they weren't involved. Well, we know that, I believe it was Dylan or Bethany was interviewed by DHS. Okay. And
Okay.
Gooch from the state police, she was her specialty was like a trafficking task force, right? And
Ah.
she was brought back just to interview Dylan. So there are things that people have to look at, different things. And when information gets dismissed, or look, I disagree with DA about this, that if you state things in the book and then you go on interviews and then kind of downplay what you said
Yeah.
yourself, that doesn't fly, because that's I don't want to get into, I don't want to dig too deep into that, but
No, that's what Jules was saying a bunch of times.
right. And
That's
so here's my take, and I had discussed this with one. I've read a lot of like nonfiction books that are based on data and scientific research and things like that. If you are writing something that's presenting facts according to what he's saying, that he got this information that we didn't see yet and so on, you have to have a thesis. You can't just say, I'm not saying anything. This
Right.
is just the facts. Well, yeah, you can do whatever you want, but anybody who consumes a lot of information is going to find that strange,
Yeah.
that somebody is putting all this different information. So to me, this is just me, anybody that were to do that, I would be suspicious, especially if they come from a background such
Right.
as Christopher
Yeah.
Whitcomb, which is federal special agent, contractor with the intelligence community. He's openly talked about those things
Yep.
on numerous accounts. So my take on it is that I can't tell anybody, nor will I claim to know specifically what the motive or the agenda would be, because it's impossible to know that. I can
Of him writing
speculate.
this, you mean? Of him writing this?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
I can speculate.
Right.
I do agree. It would logically make sense that a former federal agent is not going to trash
Totally.
the agency. But anybody who knows what my theory is about Brian Koberger knows that I believe that he may have been working with or for the feds. Right. And we, unless they're just blatantly lying, his DNA was not found on the knife sheath initially.
Do you remember initially they said it was in the buckle snap?
Yeah.
Not just on the sheath. And there were some people in science that piped in way at the beginning and said, on brass, blood
Right.
degenerates really quickly anyway.
Right.
And
Right.
I noticed that then it went from the snap to the sheath, which I thought was interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, again, they can, in my opinion, they can say whatever they want, because
Right.
if they're saying that ultimately it did not point to Brian Koberger,
Right.
but then all of a sudden, when it gets back, that DNA gets back to, I believe it was either the state police lab or the FBI, they were able to double the size of the sample,
Right,
and
right,
then,
right.
oh, it's this guy, right? But so right out of the gate, that raises red flags, and I won't get into what I believe happened with that. But again, my point is, and I'll wrap it up with this: you have somebody from, and not just who worked for the FBI. He didn't just work for I know
Right.
people that have worked for the FBI. He was a special agent involved in some pretty high profile events. And then he talked openly about it, living all around the world. He worked at the intelligence community, saw crazy things, so on and so forth. To me, you don't have to come in and present information that says a specific thing if you want to muddy the waters, right? Because
Good point.
in my opinion, sometimes a lot of people that we see on the mainstream media and things like that, their role seems to be, and I'm basing this also on my knowledge of the
Right.
intelligence agencies' collaborations over the years with the mainstream media, is to muddy the
Muddy the
waters,
waters, yeah.
get people talking about, well, what about this? What about that? And they know people, the
And look what we're doing.
agencies,
Yeah.
right? The CIA has the best psychologists in the world, period, full stop, right? Some of the best psychologists in the world. If they know how people will respond, right, to different types of information, they have studied it, right? They know how to manipulate people. So I just question these things,
Which
and
is cool.
right, and I observe the way people respond when they're asked about things, and when they misdirect, and how they present, the way they speak,
And
the way
you
they
observe them with those big bug eye glasses that you have
that's
on.
right.
So I
That's
can't
right.
see it.
I
Yeah.
have big bug eyes, and I notice a
No,
lot of
I was
things.
like,
And
I'm like, what
I don't
does
miss a fucking thing.
Yeah,
what does
I
he
know.
look like? Yeah.
I notice things, and it's either a gift or a curse, depending how you
No,
look at it.
I do
So,
too. It's a gift. It's a gift. It's a gift.
There's
Yeah.
you know, I try to convince myself of that, but you know, so I don't see it as he just can't say specific things, or he's got to toe the line. It's up to us to do it. I agree. It's up to us to do it. And it's
And this
also,
contradiction, I guess, is what bothered her. Like in the book, he stated that 3 fights were going on that night. 3 fights. It's in the book. But when on other interviews, he said, "Oh, I think there was like a fight or 2, or and lots of partying." I mean, it's that sort of thing that someone like Jules, who's like, got her eye on the dots. It's those things I think that make people wonder sometimes. Yeah,
absolutely.
but
And
I think,
and to wrap it up, just to kind of wrap up what I'm
yeah.
saying is when somebody comes out and writes this book, they know that everybody's been chomping at the bit, because all the other books were fictional hit pieces, basically,
Right.
that a lot of the information was totally inaccurate. So everybody's like, oh, this is it, this is the big one, he's questioning a lot of things. But then I read the book, and then I
Which is
paid
what I thought.
attention.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I paid attention to the way things were presented. And so I don't want to go any further than that. So, but you had great questions,
And
very well
I
asked.
appreciate the answers and the time. And my big thing, and I've written this in several comments, is that whatever, we have learned certain things that we didn't know before. And why not read it and listen to opinions to add or detract from our own opinions? In my many years on the earth, I've found that if I make an instant judgment, which is what many people do right away, oh, this guy's an asshole, money, but that clouds our mind, our subconscious, to stay open in any way to actually learning truths. And I know there have been times when I have instantly judged a person. Oh, I don't like that person. And they end up being one of my best friends down the line. So I just think it's really important that we appreciate the book, these conversations, and our discussions, and then make up our own minds, So I really appreciate you guys having me up and answering those questions for me. And State of the Deep, JJ, I do have pictures of Kurt's house and his yard that I took yesterday because it was actually sunny, and I want to send them to you. Cobain?
Are you on Discord?
I don't, somebody signed me up to one of them. I think it was you guys. It's just too confusing for me, but I'm going to try. It's the things are on my phone, and I guess I'll try to send them there. I'll see what I can do.
Because we all look at that stuff, like, especially, Robin and I and Dago and 1-1. We dug into that case.
Yeah, you asked, and I told you one time ago, oh, take pictures. And now they've put up a big barrier, like going up his driveway, but you'll still be able to, but it's the park that is right next to his house. Every day of the year, there are people there all ages on this bed and putting flowers and tributes. And I took pictures of those too every day. And this little park is in the middle of ritzy titsy town, and it's kind of hard to find. So I think you'll appreciate it. Thanks, all
That's
you guys.
awesome.
I really
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you very much
and,
for coming up, and yeah, very much
thank you
appreciated you
so
coming
much.
up on
Thank
asking
you so much.
Thank
questions.
you.
Have a great
Thank
night.
you very much. You too.
Don't be
I'm
hating.
gonna, oh no, I
Thank-
don't. No, I trust
No,
me.
no, I'm reading the text on the screen. It's from Don't Be
Oh,
Hating.
okay,
That's all.
okay, great. Take care, guys. Just
All
cut
right.
me out because I don't know how to leave. So
All right, sure, you bet, no problem. Thank you very much. All right, so Don't Be Hating one. I'm not sure exactly if I pronounced that right. Some people enjoy theories and different types of info, and some only like concrete info. We need both types of thinkers, in my opinion. We can trust no one, but also be open-minded and respectful. And that's what I agree. Like, I have no problem with us all asking the questions about and sharing your thoughts about what didn't convince you and what did convince you. No problems whatsoever about that. So thank you for those questions. If everybody else wants to come up and ask more questions, this is a great time to do so. So make sure we send that link out again so it's all fresh and dandy for people to go, and we can have you up again. Yeah, look, I am a little bit irritated, I guess, that people act like there's nothing new in this book. I don't know how you read the book and find out there's nothing new. For those who act like if he didn't show pictures, then it's just his word, it's not just his word. Please consider this. His ass can be sued 6 ways for Sunday for saying that Ethan Chapin has a clump of human hair in his fist. No one has seen it because we're not allowed to see the crime scene photos. We're not allowed to see the autopsy photos. So when he tells you, I've seen the crime scene photo and the autopsy photos, and he's holding on to hair still, that's something that you have to take his word for. But keep in mind, he and the publisher will have their asses sued if he's wrong. He knows he's not wrong because he saw it. So sue away.
Did Howard Bloom get sued? Did Howard Bloom get sued?
I don't know.
He had a lot of,
but he didn't show pictures.
Well, what I'm saying is he had a lot of things that were patently false in that book, and he created a fake narrative that he had no concrete evidence of. So
you have to be like, I can't remember. It's been a while since I read his book. Did he couch everything as I imagine, or I you know, because if he couches things with I imagine he was thinking this, that's how you get away with saying something is patently false. I imagine his dad said this. Like if he said it as fact, his father said these words, then yeah, he can set himself to be sued. But only if, for example, if he's quoting Michael Koberger, if Michael Koberger lawyers up and sues him for saying I never fucking said that, and if he doesn't decide to sue, then he doesn't get sued. He can say it all day long. And
well, he presented his theory in the book clearly that it was Maddie that was the main target, and that this Koberger, and he created that whole narrative. He drove around. He did. You can't sell a book as a nonfiction book as a journalist, right? And just make up narratives, right, without presenting any evenance of why you have that. Trust me, bro.
There's a true crime writer. I forgot her name. It's a female. Anyways, there's a female. Is it Bloom? Not Bloom. That's Howard Bloom. There's a female author who was famous for writing true crime books where she would just completely make up entire conversations between the killer and his mother or whatever, and it was 100% made up. But she would do it to put in your mind what that conversation might have looked like, without really telling you that it was just completely pulled out of her ass. And people loved those books. They ate them up. Oh, I love that book. And you're like, none of that's based on facts. Like she wasn't there for. She would talk about conversations that nobody was there to have heard, and just imagined what that conversation would have been like, and people ate it up. They loved it, even though it was based on no facts. I don't know how she got away.
But you could still look. Bloom could have still been sued.
And Rule, that's it. And Rule. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm saying is, Bloom could have been sued because he was painting a picture that was not accurate about somebody that was basically awaiting trial, because that came out before the trial. And by his narrative painting that it tainted a potential jury pool, right, and affected the outcome of the plea deal, right? So that just because he couched it in a certain way doesn't mean you can't be sued. You could still be sued. So my whole point was this: that people, if someone could also say, well, you're saying things pretty definitively in the book, but then when questioned about it, you skirt away from it, And there were several examples that I saw of that.
Yeah. Somebody was mentioning another author's name. Got to say, I think Patricia Cornwell might actually have done the same kind of thing with those fiction books that are kind of like fiction, but based on true crime. And then it's passed off as, wow, I didn't know they said that. And like, there's no proof they ever did say that. That was just made up.
Right.
Like, but anyways, yeah. So
look, I like some good writing. I like some colorful language. I appreciate all that. I will tip my hat to Blumberbuss and say that he's very good with words.
Here's the thing, by the way, people keep talking about, I wish the Kobergers would have sued, whatever. It costs money to sue. Like, yes, we live in America and you can sue anybody for anything, but Howard Bloom's got money. The Kobergers, I don't think, have a whole lot of money. So I'm not sure the Kobergers can afford to lawyer up and sue for a false statement, because it costs money. That's how some people lose, how people win lawsuits, is they just know they can outmoney you. And that's what's broken in the American legal system, is that people win or lose based on how much money they have. Can you afford to pay the best lawyers, or do you have to go with the public defender who's got 20 different cases and simply sees you for 5 minutes before walking into court? And that's the first time they've met you, and they're going to go defend you because they're just overwhelmed. They don't have the thing. The more money you have, the better defense you've got. And the more money you have, the more you can sue people. And so it's all about money. And if you don't have the money, you don't get the justice. Anyways, that's a side tangent. And I digress. But anyways. Is Chris this is from Awesome Town Matt 9349. Is Chris no longer an FBI agent, and he felt so compelled to release this book? Then why doesn't he keep digging? So how do I answer that? So this is what I know about Chris so far. Chris is interested in a bunch of cases. He mentioned, for example, the Springfield 3 and other cases that he's been digging into. Chris has ambitions to keep doing true crime kind of stuff. So what he was saying is, I don't intend to write 15 more books on Idaho 4. I've got other things that I want to do, but I had to get this out because a colleague of his, this is right from the book, a colleague of his said, you need to look at this case. If you're interested in doing true crime cases and covering this kind of stuff, you need to look at this case because something went wrong here. And he looked at it, and he looked at discovery material that was available to him through his contacts. And he went, that's a bunch of bullshit. I want to write a book about that. Does he want to write 2 more, 3 more books? No. But I will tell you this. I firmly believe this book is the tip of the iceberg. The same type of people, I'm not saying the same people, the same type of people that came forward to Christopher Whitcomb to give him, like, this is some bullshit, are probably coming forward to other people. I won't be surprised in the next month that TMZ gets crime scene photos. That's how it almost always happens. Somebody goes to TMZ because TMZ will pay big money. And there's people who have access to these things who are willing to leak. So photos will come out. It's not going to come out in Christopher Whitcomb's book, and HarperCollins isn't going to get their ass sued doing it, but somebody's going to come out, and TMZ's got fucking tons of money. So they'll pay fucking $250,000 or $500,000 to get some photo, and they'll like lawyer up. We'll go to battle on this. The public, it's out in the public domain now. We've got it. So I expect we will see stuff coming out soon.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, based on the book, the initiation of him getting involved in the case came from an FBI agent or a former FBI agent.
Right.
Right. So my theory has not changed at all about BK. In fact, I feel more confident than ever about it. And I've said all along, wait and see what happens as a result of things, right? We're normal. We're human beings. You want to like find answers with whatever information comes to your attention. But I've been saying, I'm willing to wait and see, and we'll find out if a lot of what we heard was misdirection and narrative shifting based on what plays out going forward. And so I think the number one thing for me, there were many things that I noticed. The number one thing, which is and I'm just saying, the prime, one of the prime aspects of a controlled opposition is challenge a bunch of different things and then very strategically, not overtly by saying the crimes happened at this time, but by presenting other pieces of information that draw attention away from what a dissident narrative might be. And so you steer people in a certain direction. Hey, look over here. But they don't tell you why to look over here. Just look over here. But then if you analyze it, okay, this black truck, this, that, the other, all revolve around what? The later time frame, right? So this is not my theory. This is how these types of things are done. You get somebody that people like, it's a super dynamic guy, impressive resume, super smart, and he's presenting information. Who wouldn't want to jump all over that? But in the end, if this community that he started out with, who've been questioning the official timeline of the, as far as like when it happened, and then, oh, by the way, look over here at this. And then we ask him about the other timeline, and he says, oh, that's just normal college noises. And so you have to be aware of how controlled opposition works. And we're the ones supposed to question this. Just because a law enforcement guy or a federal agent or an intelligence person is telling people, look, I got this information, check this out, that doesn't mean you don't question it. You should question everything.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. And that's what I feel like we try to do on this panel is we assemble questions and we talk about it and we keep an open mind about it. If it's one criticism I would think our show has, and I don't know that we can fix it, is people will say, well, why don't you have the prosecution come on and talk on your show? Well, that's great if they want to come on and talk on the show. I would love to have them. I would love to hear their counter side and ask some questions about them. The chances are they're not going to touch us with a 10-foot pole because they don't like the questions we ask. So
they don't have to. He pled guilty.
By all means. Right. That's exactly that's exactly their point. I don't have to say shit. He pled guilty. Their point is, why are you guys still talking about it? He pled guilty. This case is over. Fucking move on. He said he did it, and they don't have to prove anything. They have nothing they have to prove. And that's what Hitler even said to Koberger. You realize by pleading guilty, the state no longer has to prove anything. And he's like, yes. It's done. In their mind, case over. Fucking let's get some lunch and go home and go to the next thing. They're not going to talk about it anymore. There's nothing to talk about.
Remember, DA, I think it's really important for the denizens and for the mods and for all of us to keep this in mind. The government never lies. The government would never carry out operations and lie to citizens about it. So as long as we know that, then we know we're in good hands with whatever information we get.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
a little sarcasm in there.
No.
Just a hair. But no, you're right, and we do have to question everything, and that's what I said last night. Let's take this book and utilize it for just that. Let's see what shakes out, and hopefully we'll be able to get Chris back and sit down and discuss some of these things more. I, for one, am going to keep an open mind about all of it. I do believe that there are nuggets in this book that can help us to find some more truth. Is everything maybe accurate in it? No, but I do believe that there are definitely some nuggets in there that will bear some fruit and point us in a correct direction. So
yeah, and the book is riveting. I said it right out of the gate. It's riveting, and there's a lot of information in there that when it's presented in such a way is super compelling, and it does raise questions. It's just,
yes,
when you're presenting information, you should be assumed that you're presenting information that you believe has relevance. Now, the question is, what relevance? What is the relevance? Now, just saying, oh, it's, or assuming that he's just presenting it because it's up to us to figure it out. Well, we don't have inside information, right? We didn't see the things that he saw. We don't have connections in the FBI. So, to me, it's like if we have to wait and see. I mean, that's really all I can say. I'll keep paying attention, and if something changes my mind, I'll be the first one to say I was wrong or I was misguided in my ideas about it. If that happens, I'm willing to wait and see if it plays out that way.
Real quick, there is an update on breaking news. It was posted in our chat. Trump was at a White House a correspondence dinner, and gunshots were fired, and the person has been killed. It just happened a few minutes ago. So Trump and Vice President are okay, but there was it's big breaking news that somebody shot a gun and got shot and killed in that thing, and it's kind of breaking news. It's on the screen. I can show it just briefly. Not that I want to shoot myself in the foot and have everybody fucking tear off to go watch CNN or some shit like that, but it was mentioned, and so I wanted to add it just real quick. So here it is. This is in the Independent for just a few minutes ago. Trump and White House VIP evacuated after shooting at correspondence dinner with gunmen killed on the scene. Live updates. So apparently that just happened. Again, it doesn't look like anybody but the gunman was actually killed. So but just wanted to share that because it happened in the middle of our stream, and it's interesting thing. But as far as, somebody said all that Chris offered in the book was the hair. I disagree. Chris talked at length about Otham Labs and the DNA sample. He talked at length about the positioning of the knife sheath that didn't show up on body camera footage that he watched, and you see officers within 18 inches of it, and they not once do they mention anything about a knife sheath as they pass their flashlight over the area. He talked about the knife sheath being discovered on the ground, and then yet later on ends up underneath, and talked about at detail how it had to have been placed after the killings and after some time because of the blood stains. There's in-depth stuff about the ping pong table. In fact, Christopher Whitcomb said if there was one piece in the book that's the most important piece, it's the ping pong table discussion. We barely talk about it. So I disagree. The only thing he gave us was the hair. That's what he gave us in the first 2 pages. And there was more hair in Maddie and Kaylee's bed that comes later on. But there's plenty of meat to it. But again, I feel like a lot of people who are shitting on the book didn't read the book. I don't know if that person did read the book, but a lot of people who shit on the book saying that the book tells you nothing. When you ask them, did you read the book? Well, no, but I've been told. Okay.
Well, somebody in the chat just said we still don't have information about when Xana and Ethan got home, which is a very valid point. Because if they have all this cell phone data and they were able to track this person and that person and look at the texts and where do they go, they interviewed a bunch of people. They should have been able to tell when Ethan and Xana got home. Now, the question that I ask is, why? Why? Did they ever explain why they don't know? No, we just don't know. That's basically the response we got, right? We had them at different parties and going from this place to that place, and we know about that.
You have people who are quoted, who are eyewitnesses that say they left Sigma Chi at this time, whatever. So that's the closest they get. Now, the problem is the true crime community questions the people who gave official statements. But in my opinion, they're going by, but you're right. Like what? So first of all, in my opinion, what they're stating only what's out there in the public. But sleuthers know there's missing data there somewhere. And you're right. They probably do have cell phone communication. They probably do have tracking data that they could tell, and they're not telling the public about it. That should tell you something, that they don't just come out and clarify it. But anyway,
I mean, it's the biggest part of an investigation at first and foremost, the timeline of events. Right?
Yeah, what was happening in the hours before that murder is critical. We should know what every single one of them were doing, who they talked to, who they might have gotten in a fight with, who threatened them. Every part of their interactions for probably the last 48 hours before the murders should be looked into. But we and the public know very, very little about, and the only things we know, it seems like, are because there was camera footage of Kaylee and Maddie walking from the corner club or at the grub truck, and they couldn't avoid that. Otherwise, I feel like we would know nothing. They would tell us nothing.
Well, we've never even seen Kaylee and Maddie walking into the house. We saw a car.
Right.
We saw them
they
get
don't
into
show
a
us that
car.
part.
Yeah, we saw a car pull up past 1112, and the driver says he dropped them off. But again, I'm just making a point. We don't have official confirmation that they
No.
went into the house. How do we know they didn't walk to another party first?
Right.
How do we know that they were even in the car? We don't. We don't have verifiable, confirmed information that they walked into the house. Like in the beginning, we were told somebody saw them walking into the house at this point in time. I believe Olivia said it, right? Steve said that Olivia saw footage showing them walking into the house. Now that could have been just false information.
Yeah, how could she have? There's not a camera that faces it unless it was somebody else's camera.
Well, but that's what I'm saying is this was way before the 1112 stuff got released, way before.
Right.
So,
Right.
and what did Chris say? He said there are other cameras. There are
Yeah.
other surveillance camera footages. Why has that not been released? Now, to me, being the way that I am, I say because it would maybe point to things that they don't want the public to know about, right? Why wouldn't you release all the surveillance footage that would give a better timeline of everything that was going on in that area? To me, it's always felt like it's deliberate because they are going with a certain narrative, and anything that might have gone against that narrative, would have been withheld. We know that Ann Taylor, had so much stuff dumped on her that she wouldn't have had time to go through it all, and apparently didn't have time, her team, to go through it all. And so, again, there's too many things. Like I always say, DA, if there's too many things, it doesn't, you can't trust me, bro. Maybe you can trust me, bro, on a couple of things, but you can't trust me, bro, on so many different things. I mean, the biggest, most obvious one from day one. Why were the two surviving roommates never questioned about why did you wait 8 hours? Except for she's passed out. She's passed out. Well, all evidence points to the fact that they well knew that something happened, and it wasn't just a passed out roommate. You'd have to be putting blinders on to not see how glaringly obvious that is. So when you go right from the jump, and there's the biggest red flag from day one of the case, the 8 hour, which is probably more, delay. And my theory is someone was there well before the 911 call, and they were given a narrative to push. They weren't even there, and they were told, this is what you're going to say. Just a theory. It's just my theory.
It's one of my theories as well.
Yeah. I mean, but if that is potentially what happened, then logically we can dismiss just about every other piece of evidence, because if they're going to lie about one of the most major red flags in the case that was there from day one, then why wouldn't they lie about everything?
Yeah.
Well, it all goes back to the whole thing about if this was a simple case of a loner incel who got angry because he couldn't have the woman that he wanted or whatever, if it's that simple, then yes, why do they have to keep hiding stuff?
Yeah, I mean, his DNA wasn't even on the knife sheath that suspiciously ended up on the bed that nobody saw right away when they first walked on scene, but yet they noticed a bunch of other things. And so, look, it to me, it doesn't even matter whether people agree with what Chris wrote in his book or not. What if a lot of the information that he received is flawed from the get-go? Then how can you look at anything that we've been told as being accurate beyond what we see with our own eyes, which, to the best of my knowledge, most people are questioning the timeline because of the footage. Why would a chunk of that 1112 footage be without sound, right? And then when Chris said, "Oh, he basically said it was redacted or something along those lines." So, and again, yeah, why was he forced to remove 25 pages from the book?
I want to
It's
answer
just,
that. Yeah.
yeah, I know. Look, I can explain it. I can come up with all kinds of theories that would excuse a lot of things in this. But the reality is, there were certain things, like, for example, Kopaka. That's what prompted that him to say that about the 25 pages that were taken out. Kopaka, that the whole situation with Kopaka is very suspicious, and then it was quickly swept under the rug right when it first happened. Like, don't look over here. It's nothing. Don't worry about it. I mean, there's too many things in this case. Yeah, all right, maybe it's totally unrelated. But then why would it have to be redacted if he was considered as whatever, maybe a potential suspect, or he had connections to somebody in the house, and so on and so forth. So I just think there's too many different things.
So I do want to address what my answer is on why the pages were removed, but I also want to point out one thing, and nobody has to answer this, but the book was kind of accidentally leaked, apparently, by Barnes and Noble and sold on a shelf in Pennsylvania. But many, in fact, I think most of the copies have not started shipping. I don't think hardly anybody has read the book. Very few people. And so and it's a rhetorical question. I wonder how many people who are shredding and pissing all over this book have read the book first. Like, are you just, and you don't have to answer, are you sitting there shitting all over a book you haven't even read yet? Because if so, I would ask you to maybe wait until you read the book before you start shitting all over the book. Because it seems like people are lining up to shit on the book that they have never even read. They're parroting shit that they're hearing from other people who haven't read the book, shitting on the book, who haven't read the book, which is driving me nuts because people are parroting shit from other people who haven't read the book. So if you've read the book, great. By all means, say, I read the book and I take issue with this. That'll be a way better conversation than I'm going to shit all over the book that I haven't read. But as to the question of the 25 pages, there is multiple things. That chapter very clearly, from the way that it was engaged and what I heard Chris say, listed a whole bunch of people and suspicious things about them. The publisher probably felt that was a real dangerous ground to go down. If he mentions, for example, a Brent Kopaka being suspicious, even if he doesn't say he thinks Kopaka was involved, it's like pointing a finger at Kopaka. Why'd you mention Kopaka and not Showalter? Or why'd you mention this and not that? Who he chooses to talk about in that chapter is like pointing your finger at somebody. So the publisher probably got a little bit antsy on a chapter that would look like he's trying to point to who the alternate suspects should be. That's option number one. Number two, again, and maybe this is horseshit, in the publishing world, they are really, really critical about how many pages. You get 350 or you get 400. It has to do with printing, pages on a book size. Each book costs, like, there are all these factors that go in, and an editor decides that the sweet spot of a book is 354 pages or 355 pages, and so something has to go. And so when you're looking at the totality of the chapters, this chapter can go, one, because it's a little bit too much into the pointing fingers at who did it, and two, it's going to be a better sell if we keep it at 350 instead of 450 pages. So those kind of factors get made in. If you think I'm just fucking making excuses for it, fucking so be it. I'm telling you, there are many reasons why the chapter could have got cut. It doesn't all necessarily mean some kind of nefarious thing. But
Well, he did in the book, basically without saying it, say that Dylan's story was nonsense, because she said he all the way he described the evidence, that it was the person, based on what he suggested with the evidence, went and left from the first floor, right? And Dylan said there was one guy with a balaclava, he was dressed in black, and he walked out of the sliding glass door. And he brought up things that were pretty damning to the narratives of the surviving roommates. So that could be interpreted the same way. And so releasing information about somebody who may have been somehow looked at some point in the case, you know, I don't think that in and of itself should have been something that was like, we can't do this because, you know, we're going to get sued or something like that. I mean, the surviving roommates that everybody, all the mainstream narratives have protected, despite their narrative making no sense whatsoever. Somebody just said in the chat, Bethany heard plastic cups falling, but she didn't hear a brutal, vicious attack going on upstairs, one floor up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's
Right.
all, that's the, you'd have to, I mean, did people think we're morons? I mean, this is the problem. This is the problem I have with being spoon-fed a narrative that's nonsense. And then, you know, it's ridiculous.
I got multiple questions coming in. I want to, because Awesome Town Matt and I are having some issues here. Not really issues. I'm just saying you keep firing back with me. First of all, I want to comment on this. I'm going to pin something else from Awesome Town. My book is 427 pages. This is interesting, by the way, and maybe Robin can explain it a little bit better. I don't know how much of your books, Robin, have gone to print, but I remember even Chris said the book was 400 and something pages. The advanced copy I got, I can tell you, was 333 pages. However, pagination issues in the advanced copy, which is electronic, may be different than pagination issues in the print book. Don't you agree, Robin? Or,
Yes.
The spacing.
Yes,
right. The
that is the
spacing is
way.
like that. Yeah.
Right. That is the way it works when you are publishing Kindle. You know, the ebook form will have a different number of pages, sometimes depending on your device. So say you are reading it on a tablet, it may have a different number of pages than if you're reading it on your phone or on the Kindle, Amazon Kindle device. Or if you're buying it through Barnes and Noble, they use the Nook device. So your device may be different than what the print book will end up being. So there are vast differences. So it isn't all the same depending on what device you're reading
the reason,
on and which publisher you're getting it through. So
right,
Guys, I'll be right back.
Okay. And I bring that up because people might say, oh, well, DA didn't get the full book. He only got 3. Like, if you're going to, don't start arguing about the number of pages, because again, pagination on whether you got the hard copy book or the paper book or whether you got the electronic version, those numbers are going to change.
And keep this in mind too. If you're the kind of person who likes to make your print look bigger, that's going to add more pages to your book if you're reading it on your
Kindle
device,
or whatever.
tablet, phone, Kindle.
Yeah.
So the bigger you make your font so that you can see it, it adds more and more pages to your book. So you cannot, when you're reading on a device, you can't. There is really truly no set number of pages. It's not like finite, like, you know, when you're reading a print book, the print book is what the print book is. So that will account for the discrepancies in page number.
Right. Drysiders, thank you so much for the donation, for the super chat. That they know how much people, the population is NPCs, which is non-player characters, for those aren't familiar with that terminology, and I can explain it further if you need to, but they know that they can get away with it. Yeah, there's a lot of, I call them sheeple. There's a lot of sheeple who don't really think. They just they just get told what to believe, and then they yell at you because you don't go along because we're all sheep. We got to all be the same. We're going in the same direction. Right. Like, if you're sheep, you just bleat because that's the herd's going this direction, so it must be the right way. Right. So
and we shouldn't be like that. And it's okay to have these conversations about the various opinions that everyone has. There's nothing wrong with that. But by the same token, we don't have to tear each other apart in order to do it. There's no reason to do that. It is counterproductive instead of having a civil discourse about things. So I think we're losing sight of that a little bit over this book. Some people are just losing their mind in one direction or another.
And the part that's
to calm down and have some common sense and go through this a little bit systematically and use some critical thinking.
And that's the part that's bothering them most. Most of the people who are, like you say, kind of losing their mind about the book haven't read the book yet. That's the part that bothers me most. The people who are most losing their mind about the book haven't read the book. They're literally losing their mind about what they think the book's going to say.
Or they read the book, and that was what the book was designed for, is to get people
that could
to
be,
fight.
that could be it.
To fight
Yeah.
over it, and you know, go on certain shows and not others, and get. I mean, just
and that's what I'm saying. We all have to have some damn common sense, use some critical thinking, work through the book. This is the kind of book you're going to want to read more than once. Take notes on it. I mean, there's even a workbook out there for it right now. Believe it or not, I saw somebody
I saw that
posted. I think it was one posted that the other day.
Yeah,
someone actually created a workbook, which I think I may get it. I'm just very curious about this workbook. Take notes on it, question stuff. Send in your own freaking FOIAs and your public records request. DA did an excellent video on how to do that using Chat GPT. So that's in our video library that anyone can access. Question it. Don't just take our word for it. Don't take anybody's word for it. Do the legwork.
All right. By the way, have we posted a link for somebody to come up for a while? Let's repost the link to see if anybody wants to come up. And all right,
I will do that.
I saw somebody said, I got to log out. I'm a University of Idaho graduate, was in a sorority in a group in Idaho, and this is very important to me. I heard a couple of people say they have to leave. I have to leave. I can't listen to this bullshit. I don't understand, and that's fine, by the way. I'm not trying to pick on you, but I don't understand why asking questions troubles some people so much that they have to log out because they can't handle the discussions of asking questions. And maybe that's not it, but I don't know. It's like, I feel like some people are like, I can't listen to people ask questions about this. This is bothering me. Why do we not have, we should have conversations like this, I think.
Well, I think that, like I said, if you wait and watch what happens as a result of this book and see how the overarching narrative might shift, and how, let's say, for example, that all of a sudden we find out that, if they had the flock camera system in that area, and we had better surveillance in place and more cameras and so on and so forth, all the things I've talked about many times, then we would have never had these problems. We could have prevented it from happening. We could have, there wouldn't be any question about if the right person was arrested and so on and so forth. But that might not happen right away. And what happens is it's a 24-hour news cycle. Another case comes up. Another thing happens. There's a shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. All these things. The public's attention gets diverted. And then you forget about, oh yeah, look at, all these different cases that happened that people were questioning. It's very easy to just make a blanket statement. Well, think about how much safer it would be and how much more accurate law enforcement would be if we lived in a surveillance state. And so that may not happen in a timely fashion, so people can connect the dots together. And that's why I always say, pay attention to what happens as a result of things.
Yeah, so Gemma Gorgon says, I think it's curious that Gonzalez's have not said a single thing about it. And I think they will. I mean, when has the Gonzalez's been silent about something? They're going to have an opinion about this book. Now, keep in mind, the book isn't officially released yet, I don't think. It wasn't set to officially release until the 28th, which is still 3 days away. Several people in here have said, I'm not getting my copy until the 28th because that's the actual release date. Some bookstores put it on the shelves ahead of time. I happen to know a little bit about that business to know that oftentimes the publisher will send the books out and they'll be sitting in boxes with a stamp on it that says, don't put on the shelves until the 28th. But some stock boy ignores it on purpose or on accident and puts it on the shelves. And once it's out, they're like, shit, we've lost containment of the book. There's people who are reading it and commenting. So that shit happens. Now, did the publisher completely take the gloves off of everybody talking about the book a week. It was about a week. It was a week before the book was especially to go out because one Barnes and Noble, or did all the Barnes and Nobles across the United States release the books at the same time? I don't know, but whatever happened, for some reason, Amazon and other places are still holding to the original promise they made to the publisher that we won't release it until the 28th. That itself is drawing dissonance in the group, right? Because people are pissed off. Why do you have a copy and I don't have a copy? Why are you telling me all about the book when I don't even have my copy yet? And everybody's getting mad at each other because, look, I don't know the publishing business that well, but I think Barnes and Noble made a mistake and put that out too early, and now it's a shitstorm.
Right.
It's a good PR move.
Right.
Donnie
It is a
Brooke
good PR move. Right.
Donnybrook Kennels, thank you so much for the gift. We appreciate your support very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Absolutely.
Mine's going to be delivered on Tuesday. My copy, and I already read the advanced copy that we got, but I did order the book, and because I like to have the hard copy of things too, because you can highlight stuff and you can kind of dog ear pages that you want to refer back to and stuff like that, rather than scrolling. Because I had it on my iPad, and I have a Mac, an iPad, so the formatting, it was a little wonky. I had to scroll through things. It was a little more complicated. It was a little buggy, and it's also an older iPad. But look, I think everybody should read the book. I do, but I also think that people should look at it with a critical eye as well, and see why would the sounds we heard on 1112, the like blood curdling screams and all this stuff, could be dismissed so easily when they never addressed it publicly. Oh, we looked into this timeline, and this is that, and this is the other. So, I just think a lot of it has to be looked at and questioned as to why are we being told that, oh, this isn't a nothing burger, don't worry, trust me, bro. This time when we barely hear any kind of sounds of violence, at least not enough that would line up with what we saw from the evidence about what occurred in that place. I mean, come on, man. This horseshit about the throbbing roommates didn't hear a violent struggle is the most preposterous thing. Yeah, it's total bullshit.
Yeah, totally.
It's just like, what do they expect? I mean, this is the shit that pisses me off. It's like we're fed stuff, and how dare you question it? Like you're a crazy conspiracy theorist. I'm sorry, but a lot of the information is nonsensical for people to believe it. So why would you then believe all the subsequent information that comes out after some of the most critical aspects of the case that don't make sense? And it was never explained, never truly explained, other than my roommate's passed out.
Yeah.
Something's happened in our house. We don't know what. Then why were you scared the night before? If you're scared enough to run down to I know this is old stuff we're talking about, but it's a critical part of the case, and everything that follows from that, in my opinion, is suspect because of that.
Yeah, and I want to say this is one of the things that Awesome Town Matt says. This is one of the areas that I had trouble with Chris in the book and when I interviewed him. I asked him specifically about the scream at 2:27, and his response was, "That's typical party sounds." I listened to that entire night. It was a busy night, which is funny because does that not contradict people who say it was a real quiet night that night? But he says, "Hey, look, that's typical college town sounds. That's nothing unusual. I didn't hear anything unusual." He also said in the book at 4:17, you can hear the scream. I don't remember hearing a scream at 4:17. I remember hearing a thud, a dog bark during the murder window. But I specifically pointed out what you don't hear in the murder window on the audio is anything close to what you hear at 2:27, which was all the horrific screaming that's going on and what sounds like a struggle. You don't hear that at the 4 o'clock in the morning thing. So I kind of asked him about that, and didn't spend a lot of time on it. But yeah, it's something that I'm critical as well, because I don't know. Did you guys hear a scream on the 417 time frame on the audio? I don't remember hearing a scream.
I
No.
didn't. I didn't hear
No.
anything that was
You know what?
like,
And you know what bothers me most, JJ, about that? What bothers me most? Did somebody move the scream? That same scream we hear at the 227, the scream that he heard at 4 o'clock at 4 something in the morning. Like,
Well,
then it makes me wonder.
that's something that's something honestly we really need to bring to his attention. I don't care who it is that brings it to his attention, is that look, I mean, we have those files. I mean, somebody needs to give them to him and say, look, you need to compare this to whatever you may have and see, how much this has been screwed with. What you have could very well be different from what was given to us. Shit that
Right.
people paid good money for.
What if
I
what
really
if he?
do think,
Yeah.
maybe he doesn't know.
Yeah, maybe the audio he heard had that same horrific scream at 417, and we're all like, "What are you talking about?
Right.
It's not at 417; it's 227."
No.
And he's thinking, "What are you talking about? It's at 417." Like, maybe he got fucked with. Maybe like, who
Right.
knows? Who knows?
Right.
I don't
And
know.
the other thing I want to ask him about personally is he was talking about the dog barking. I'm sorry, but at the 417 and the 430 or whatever, when that dog is barking, it is two dogs. It is two different dogs. It barking at the same time. One has a higher pitch voice and the one has a lower pitch voice. So there
Yeah.
are actually two dogs going off at the same time.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I don't believe that the dog barking, and this is just my personal opinion, I don't believe that we ever hear Murphy bark.
Yes.
I know I have a Bernedoodle. They're a very similar dog to a golden doodle. That does not sound like a golden doodle barking to me. It sounds like a much bigger dog. Now
Right.
again, that's just my personal opinion based on my
Right.
experience with dogs, training dogs, and so forth over the years. So
Right.
that's just me.
And I agree. If you're being critical, like we've been with all of this thing, when Chris makes a statement, you hear Murphy barking. That's a subjective opinion. How do you know it's Murphy? You hear a dog barking,
Right.
but
You don't see Murphy.
I walked the neighborhood. There's dogs all over the place that sound like that
That's
barking
right.
at me 2 years later. Like, there was dogs in the neighborhood, plural. There was dogs behind the house, two dogs that were out behind the house barking at 417 in the morning that aren't Murphy.
Because
so
keep in mind, Moyes had, I think, two dogs, and they're right there. They're right there.
Right.
So I don't believe that we ever even hear Murphy. That is just.
And how many people said Murphy wasn't a barker in the first place? A ton of people said Murphy wasn't a barker. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you for the gift, Joseph Valdez, 7055. Do you feel like he was heavily implying JD's involvement? The 17-minute call, implying that Dylan was involved with someone, and that may be why she wasn't attacked. In the book, do you remember in the book, what he talks about? Here's the problem I have. I've had numerous conversations with Christopher on and off the air, and so we've had conversations about things that may or may not have made it in the book. So I want to be super careful about the answer from what's in the book. For those of you who haven't, like JJ and Robin, you haven't had a personal conversation that I know of with Christopher. Do you remember him talking about the 17-minute call in the book specifically?
I don't remember offhand about the I think he talked about it in one of the interviews from what I can recall.
I think he did on one of the interviews. Yeah, I think he did on the interview. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't recall it specifically in the book. I mean, here's the thing. This is just my critical analysis. What does it matter if a bunch of different disparate questions are presented if they're not clarified of what the importance is, other than what he said to us, which was, I forget how he phrased it, but he said something to the effect of like, oh, well, this is the real big one, which clearly was the black SUV, right? He's like, that's the biggest bombshell. Remember that?
Yeah.
Right. And so to me, what does that get people to do? Well, he's saying this is the biggest bombshell. Let's all go back and look at that black SUV at a certain time. Now, I'm not suggesting that that is not significant. I'm just looking at the fact that it points away from, or it would logically point away from the earlier time frame, which, in my opinion, that there was a bunch of different things in the 1112 footage that were weird to me. It's like some certain people walking looked like ghosts. Other people, you could see them clearly. There was this weird shit like video and
There's all
audio.
kinds of shit going on with those videos.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like they were
I agree.
doctored, right? You see
Yeah,
a flash of light in two different reflections in two different
Right.
spots, right? And Bethany had talked about a light and a loud boom. That was her words, right? And so, and then there's the other things too, like Nunez saying suicide, like one of his
right,
initial first things that he said. Well, as we said yesterday, what would it make somebody even come to that conclusion? Now, he said, "Oh, because I saw the blood." Well, that wouldn't imply suicide, right? Just because you saw a bunch of blood. That's a pretty
right.
specific
And
thing.
and what I found really weird about that, JJ, was that, you know, who was the other cop with him? Said to him, "How did you get there?" And he's
Warner.
like, "Well, the blood." And then the next thing you know, he like jumped on the radio real fast, like to avoid answering that question.
Yeah, I mean, again, I have said many times for different reasons that I believe the gun was somehow involved in this event. And it has nothing whatsoever to do with Pav's gun rack guy. That had
Yeah,
nothing to do with it. It had to do with the fact, number one, logic. If you're going to go into a house with a bunch of cars parked in the parking area, and you're in a state that's very gun friendly, which you can logically imply that there's probably a lot of people with guns, right?
right,
In that state, if you're going into a place and it's a targeted, isolated attack, you're probably not going to just walk in there with a knife or a machete or whatever the edged weapons were, right? In case, because
right,
you don't know what you might encounter, right?
Yeah.
So that was like my main thing, and then there were there was rumblings early on about a potential gunshot that was heard, or people saying something about a gunshot, and then we see the footage, and there's a flash of light, and then Bethany says there's a flash of light and a loud boom. You know, a firecracker is very different from a loud boom. Most people wouldn't
right.
describe a firecracker as a loud
So
boom. They'd say it was like a cracking sound like a firecracker.
So real quick, I want to address something because, and JJ, don't take this the wrong way because I want you to elucidate like you're doing. But people keep kicking me in the teeth because I don't address comments. I've got 6 comments I want to comment on, but I got to wait until JJ's done. And I'm not asking JJ to wrap up early. What I'm telling you is like, people need to be a little bit help me out here. I can't keep up and answer all your. I got lots of questions I'm seeing, and now I've got like 6 questions that I got to try and remember what they were all because so first, and again, JJ, I don't have a problem with you elucidating. I just want people to like back off a little bit when you get mad at me because I'm not addressing your questions, because I have to let my panelists talk and give their opinions, and sometimes that takes a while to get out. So thank you for the $2. But what's the difference between a super sticker and a super chat? Like I don't even know. I just know a $2 donation, and I'm not smart enough. But I don't understand the comment, by the way, as much. Government, law enforcement, news, ineffective. Any truth in media is on us. I'm not sure if I understand exactly how to read that
I
correctly.
agree with
Yeah.
that 100%. You can't
Right.
trust the government and just automatically trust the government, law enforcement, and the news, because you have to be a citizen that pays attention. And we've been lied to about so many things for many, many years by those 3 entities. And so it's the trust me, bro, and we're the experts. I don't buy into that anymore. That's long gone for me.
So I'm going to answer some quick questions in rapid succession. Does Chris talk about the Banfield video in the book? I don't think he does, actually.
No.
No mention of the people running in the background of the body cam footage.
Nope. Does
Nope.
Chris speak more on the Linda Lane in his book? Yes. Chris has quite a bit of focus on particular vehicles that can and can't be seen from the Linda Lane footage, about people who is seen with backpacks getting in and out of cars. He spends a lot of time with Linda Lane footage in the book. Whose
I did put
SUV
the
is
link
it?
in the chat. Somebody wanted to come up, so I did put the link in the
Okay.
chat.
Okay, good. So the question is, whose SUV is it with the distinctive sound? I think Chris hinted to that. It wouldn't be very hard for us to figure out whose SUV is. He does not tell you whose SUV it is in the book. He says it shouldn't be that hard to figure out. And basically, it's one of those, you YouTube sleuthers go figure it out. It shouldn't be that hard to figure out whose SUV that was. So, I want to talk about the SUV Crystal Whitcomb statement. Can I come up on panel? Yeah, Lenny Mo, come on up if you can get the link. I know we sent it out.
Yeah,
So
I just put it out there again.
are they talking around 5:30 when they come out front and he's talking to Lanier? I'm not sure what in relation to what that was. Is it the SUV? I think he was saying it was like 6 something in the morning, so maybe it's the same thing. But no, Lanier wouldn't be there at 6 in the morning, so it must be a different question. I must have misunderstood that question. The funny thing is, Jen S., he started talking about the black SUV like it was a big deal, and then when he circled back to it, he downplayed it like it was nothing. Look, we all got the impression Christopher Whitcomb made a huge deal in the book and in interviews about the black SUV. So yes, and so I get the people who are critical of, like, which one is it? Do you want us focusing on the black SUV, or do you think that black SUV isn't a big deal? Like, I don't know that he ever said the black SUV wasn't a big deal, so I'm not sure exactly. If he backed down from it, he's backing down from telling you whose SUV it is, because that's where he's trying to, I think, ride the line of not telling you who the SUV belongs to.
Yeah, because there's several people that it could belong to in this whole deal.
Does he bring up any suspicion of Molly in the book? I don't think there's much of anything about Molly McMichael in the book. I've spoken to him about Molly McMichael, but I don't remember. Do you guys remember much?
Yeah, he had the whole thing about the tan sedan.
Oh yeah,
driving alongside of her, and then her parking and walking down the street with a flashlight, and then she pulled around, I believe he said, and then the camera saw the car, the suspect vehicle 1, pull in behind her, and that she never actually saw suspect vehicle 1. And he did talk about it, fairly specifically.
Real quick, so we got Lenny Mo backstage. Joseph Valdez, 7055. Thank you again for the support. Do you think it's weird that all of the evidence he's focused on, at least in interviews, points away from the drug revenge angle, i.e. Malich? Yes. To be frank, I think that he is dodging the drug angle a little bit. He clearly, without saying it, focuses on Turvey's opinion. Dr. Turvey's opinion is that Kaylee was the subject of a rage kill, an overkill, and was the target of the attacks, and kind of leaves it at that. I think I did press him on some drug questions. There's one comment in the book I remember where he mentions Kara, Xana's mother, making a statement, allegedly. I think he even said that. Allegedly, she made a statement, as if Christopher wasn't confirming she actually did make the statement. He said, allegedly, Kara asked the question or made some kind of statement. This better not have something to do with my involvement with whatever. Like she thought there was the implication that allegedly Kara, Xana's mother, thought that the murders could have been involved in something to do with her drug case. But it was very brief in the book. It didn't go into detail. So there are definitely areas where some of you are going to be disappointed he didn't go into. All I can tell you about it is I would keep an open mind and pay attention to the areas he did tell you. And in fact, pay attention to the areas he didn't go down. Though that's important to ask yourself, why didn't he cover this subject and why did he cover that? That's perfectly fair to ask. And reading it for yourself will help you decide why didn't he cover this, but he did cover that. All right, let's get Lenny Moe up here. Lenny Moe, can you got your mic muted, so make sure you unmute yourself to talk.
Hello.
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 Thank you all for what you do.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
The SUV thing.
Yeah.
I think Chris has it totally wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And only because I'm going off of what I've seen Pav show on his videos. Which of course we can all question whether or not Pav has it all, but he has a video that shows there's two different SUVs. There's two different truck type vehicles. And one of them belongs to a girl who works overnight and comes home at 6:29
Yeah.
in the morning. He's stating that the SUV that parks in front of 1122 stays there for 2 hours and then goes back to this parking place where the girl lives after she got off work.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why he's getting the two vehicles confused, other than the fact that he may not have done the research
Right.
like Pav has or you all have.
Right.
That's
No, I agree. I mean, I agree. I'm not saying Chris didn't miss things, or Chris could have misunderstood things, or Chris could have had wrong opinions about what he saw in the book. I mean, that's perfectly open season for discussion of whether or not he. So the real question becomes: is do you think he's lying about it and he knows that it's not true what he's saying, or did he just
absolutely
not
no.
understand?
Absolutely not. I just don't think that he's researched totally like we all have.
Yeah.
No. I think I'm still waiting for my book. Thank you, Amazon.
Well, you know, like Lenny, the thing. Oh, I'm sorry. It's
No,
loving
it's
it.
okay. Go.
Oh, sorry. I'm seeing.
Yeah,
different-
I got a comment queued up for after.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Lenny. So my take is the biggest thing about that black SUV, as I've said, is when he was asked about the time frame, he very clearly dismissed the earlier time frame.
Yes.
He didn't really address the noises, the sounds on it, and also that the potential redactions and things being omitted from some of the footage, right? Which this is what we've all been talking about and addressing in all the other channels who've gotten footage and analyzed it all, and we've looked over a lot of the footage and analyzed what we hear and what we see. And for someone to just roll up and then, trust me, bro, and just steer away from all that is what I am questioning the most. Because if the idea is that he said it, this is the biggest bombshell, or what you should focus on. And I believe he said it about a few different things on a few different interviews. He said this is like one of the most important things, because everybody kind of asked him, like, what in your opinion is one of the most significant things we need to pay attention to? And the black SUV was one of them. And so to me, that is just like, I guess I could say a red flag, because if you shift the timeline, then you shift what people focus on, and you draw attention to another timeline, and maybe there's nothing to focus on in the other timeline. And the most important aspect I will say about the black SUV is which we have to address, was that the cleanup, right? The people who were there to help clean up. And so, in my opinion, if people were cleaning up, that adds more time to the crimes, in addition to what we've already determined by the severity of the injuries with Kaylee in particular. But a cleanup, that's going to take a little more time. And you're going to tell me the surviving roommates didn't know that there was a cleanup going on, right?
Yeah.
So on top of not hearing the violent murders that were happening,
I'm gonna throw the biggest wrinkle in that question whatsoever, and I'm just gonna ask the question: what if the cleanup didn't happen until after, well after the murder time window? What if the craziest part? What if the cleanup didn't happen until the police arrived? We already know that things were renumbered.
I think the cleanup happened after the SUV got there at 429.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's the same vehicle that pulled out of the other apartments. She went to work and then she came home at 6:30 or whatever. It's not the same vehicle, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think you're not the
cleanup-
only one that has that opinion. Yeah, there's a lot of people who question him on the. And again, the question is going to become a matter of integrity. Did he misdirect on purpose, or did he just get it wrong?
Right. Ooh, I didn't.
look, one of my secret sources, Lenny, had brought something to my attention. Do you think that the footage was manipulated that we
Absolutely.
all saw?
Yeah.
I've said that all along. And I say it from the simple fact is I know about sound effects and things like that from being a musician for so long. There's different effects that are used in audio editing and things like that can cause like the warbling sounds and things like that. Now, that could be other things as well. But to me, it seemed like there was manipulation in that video. And that's my take on it. But it's interesting that you feel the same way too, because that's a pretty significant.
And I also feel that Murphy's bark is looped. And of course, I've only just heard it. I'm not like an investigator or anything, but it's looped. It was enhanced.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that because again, right? You guys tell me what you think, but it seems like so much of the story was manipulated. So why wouldn't they manipulate the footage that was released to the public? And if there were national security implications, we'll never know.
All right, real quick, let me get to some questions that keep firing up because again, it's hard to keep up with the on-panel discussion and answers everybody's questions. Kaylee didn't die from stab wounds; it was asphyxia from whatever was stuffed in her mouth. That part I question only because I don't know where you've definitively determined something was stuffed in her mouth, but from whatever was stuffed in her mouth and down her throat, right? I don't know that I have seen definitive that something was stuffed in her mouth and down her throat, so I'm not sure about that part. But there was signs of what they call petechia, which is the sign that it take, as Chris said, it takes time to strangle somebody or to asphyxiate somebody to the point of petechia showing up in the mouth and stuff like that. So it indicates a struggle for a while. Now, what the method was, whether it was choking or whether it was something shoved down her mouth, I'm not sure that's been definitively released to the public. And if it has, correct me. But and what does the stab wounds post-mortem mean at all? As I'm guessing you're missing a word there. What does it mean? That is also a question that Chris doesn't spend a lot of time on, other than to quote Dr. Turvey, which says that it's significant that both Kaylee and Maddie received identical signature wounds. 2 times, both of their throats were cut ear to ear, both of them. And received a signature wound on their shoulder in the same place. And Dr. Turvey believes that was a signature of somebody sending a message of some sort, and it tells you about something about the killer. So
right.
And I looked that up. I looked up what did you just call it? The
petechia?
No, the wounds.
Signature wounds?
Yes.
Signature wounds, yeah.
Thank you. I looked it up. And I looked up against the cartel. I looked it up against frats. And it looks more to me as a frat signature wound to keep quiet.
Right.
Send a message
right.
to keep quiet.
Right. We've mentioned before, slitting someone's throat is a way of basically saying keep your mouth shut, kind of thing. And even
Right.
Kaylee's mouth might have been smashed as well in the process. It's a little unclear. So did she say something? Like, again, was it a sexual motivation, a jealousy thing, or was it she talked and she said something and somebody was sending a message for her for talking? You know.
Yeah.
Right.
Another thing too, Lenny, that I brought up as well is in the book, it states that Maddie promoted her OnlyFans on her Instagram account.
Right.
And two of the things that Chris was asked about, that was one of them, and he downplayed it. I can't remember if it was Birdie or which show it was, but he kind of dismissed it, or he kind of like brushed it aside. That was one thing. And then also the drugs. He said he didn't think there were any drugs involved or drugs were involved in any way. And so to me, those are two things right there that make me question things, because, why wouldn't they, if they know for a fact that Maddie was advertising an OnlyFans account on Instagram, why would that then be dismissed in an interview? It's pretty significant. We talked about this the other night, right? That would expose them. And I did read also things that people said Kaylee did too, but that wasn't in the book about Kaylee, I don't believe. So,
Yeah. So this question, does he talk about the undercovers? I don't think that was in the book either. Did he talk? He didn't talk about the undercover patrol that night, I don't think, in the book.
No.
That's going off my memory. So that was answering that question. Looks like we got Heart of Gold backstage. We're gonna bring them up in a second. Amanda pointed out in my backstage chat, I've got a backstage private channel with Amanda. The 1112 video footage actually says it's redacted right on the top of the video footage. And you know that it's redacted in part because license plates are blurred out. The question is, how much redacting did they do? Did they just redact the license plates, or was there audio redactions? Many of us believe that they muddied the audio so that you wouldn't hear what was going on. And people are going to say, law enforcement and the prosecutor is going to say it was redacted because people were having private conversations. That's none of the public's business, and you don't need to hear what they were saying. Of course, we would beg to differ. Everything that was said in that neighborhood is something we think is important for potential exculpatory information. And if you muddy it and you happen to muddy out something that might have been somebody talking about the murders, that would be very much relevant to the crime. So yeah. All right. Let's get did we lose our guest? No, we got Heart of Gold still. Let's bring Heart of Gold on. Lenny Mo, you can stay with us if you'd like, or you can step away. It's up to you, but let's bring in Heart of Gold as well. Heart of Gold, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Good.
Lee,
Doing
Robin,
well, thank
JJ.
you.
hello.
Good.
How are
Nice
you?
to see you.
Good.
First of all, thank you so much for doing that interview with Chris and having the first interview. It was amazing.
Thank you.
I can't wait to get my book. I'm so bummed that you guys all got to read it first.
I'm sorry.
But anyways, okay, so first I want to defend a few things that Chris said. I'm kind of bummed that people are kind of shitting on him.
Yeah.
Because I think that he, first of all, did an amazing job writing this book. I'm so glad that he got to see unredacted everything.
Right.
I'm bummed that people are judging him without first even reading the book. And like, he did something that we have all wanted to do for almost 4 years. And I'm just bummed that people are being so judgmental about it. So first, I am going to say to defend him about what he said about law enforcement and what an amazing job that they did. So I'm not law enforcement. I don't have any, anything in the game or anything. I don't have any family member law enforcement. I also have a really, really good childhood friend that has been wrongfully convicted and has been sitting in prison for a homicide that he didn't commit for 10 years. So I kind of know something about that. And so my whole thing is, what we don't realize is that you have to think that they had so many different agencies. What I kind of want to preface this is think about like if you were planning, say, a wedding or a birthday party or something, and every single person in your family decides they're the ones that are going to be in charge of that party.
Yeah.
And they're like, everybody's planning a different theme, a different venue, a different time, place, date, and they're all going into this birthday party or whatever and running a different investigation. And then you think the first people to show up are the Moscow Police Department, who don't know what's going on. They walk in, 4 people are murdered, and the person that they put as the lead investigator doesn't even show up until 4 p.m.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think we need to give not only what he said, that they did a great job for what was happening with, you know, the FBI, the ISP, MPD, all running different investigations, thinking who's in charge, what are they doing, the lack of communication. And I think for what they had and what was happening, like 4 murders all happening at one time, they want to solve it because it's all of their money in that town is all based on the university.
Yeah.
You know, and like what Payne said, right when he was there at that crime scene at 4:30ish or whatever, and was
Just
saying,
when enrollment was up. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, about enrollment being up. Like they have to solve this within like a short time frame because their whole town is going to collapse if people don't go to college there, right?
Yeah.
So
Right. Yeah, and I want to reiterate something you said in my own words, which is that it only takes a couple of bad cops, but that doesn't mean the entire police department be shit on because a couple of bad cops or because of a person who steered. Like, so example, if Bill Thompson said this is what we're going with, this is how we're going to prosecute this case, and he sets the direction, a lot of good cops. If they're told don't talk about this to anybody in the media, don't talk about what you know, they could be doing what they're told. Like I'm not allowed to talk. I'm under. So one could say, Chris is saying, look, there's a lot of cops who are good fucking cops who do really hard work and should be commended and not shit on because they happen to belong to a police department in which some fuckery was taking place, because not every cop was involved in that fuckery. So one could take Chris's words to say, yeah, I think a lot of people did really, really amazing work on this. Did somebody fuck up? Certainly, I think. And I don't think he's saying, obviously, if you read between the lines, he's saying people fucked up in that case, and law enforcement as well. But he's saying, in general, law enforcement did a really good job. And I think those two things personally can be held at the same time. That some cops did something good and some didn't.
And I agree. There are good cops and bad cops, just like there are good people and bad people. However, if you are covering up
right
important things that are being obscured or not properly addressed, and the public is being lied to about things, because to the main point here, that you have enrollment to worry about. I've talked about this many times. Big money universities are big money generators, right? And if you don't wrap things up, or squash the concerns and fears of the public and potential students' families, then you're going to lose big money, right? So the idea, the way I see it, we've talked about the fact that the university would have a lot of sway over that investigation with the local police. And so if it was a threat that we don't get this thing wrapped up quick, we're going to lose a lot of enrollment, because parents aren't going to send their kids to a town where there's a quadruple homicide and they haven't caught somebody yet. So to me, if they're covering things up, then I have a hard time saying that the police did a good job by not pushing the surviving roommates, by diverting the public's attention away from certain information in favor of other information. So to me, like, I can intellectually I know that there are good cops, just like there are bad cops. But this is a big deal. If you're covering up stuff, or if you believe Koberger may have been framed, which is not what I believe, then that's not good. And
What do
people
you believe?
But I agree, JJ. But you can't cover up something that you don't know. So
Right.
I don't think that multiple agencies covered this up.
Right.
I think that people were doing their jobs, and especially for like Nunez, who was 2 years on the job. They say maybe not a rookie, but I say a rookie because 2 years is nothing.
Right.
And so to me, like, if you're doing what you're told because that's what your supervisor told you to do, I don't think you can cover up someone when there's so many people involved, because someone's going to talk, even in
Yeah.
like a crime. Like if you have 2+ people in a crime, someone's going to talk at some point.
Well, this is a really complicated thing. I mean, first of all, this is complicated. I've seen a body camera footage. This is years and years ago, of a cop that forgot to turn off his body camera footage, and they planted evidence on somebody, and it was caught on camera. And all the cops around him kept their mouth shut about it. So it becomes really difficult. Like, does that mean every cop that look? I'm not going to answer it, but some would say every single cop that didn't report on that guy just planted evidence is also a bad cop. Other people say, well, it's a gray area because he's not going to shit on his brother in blue kind of thing, but he's like fucking not going to go along with it either and put something on a piece of paper saying, yeah, I saw that there. So everybody's got their own, and I'm not going to tell you which way I lean on. I'm just saying that it becomes muddy about whether or not every person who shut their mouth on it is also just as corrupt as the guy that did it, or whether there's gray areas of like, well, look, what he did is wrong, but it's not going to come out of me. Somebody else better whistle. I think there are whistleblowers, by the way. I think there's whistleblowers coming forward, and the people who were involved in the inside are going to rat on their brothers. I do think that's going to happen.
Well, think about the knife sheath, right?
Yeah.
You have people on the scene. They don't see the knife sheath, which, according to what we've been told and what the actual evidence photos show, is it was tucked under Maddie's outside thigh, the leg that was partially hanging off the bed, right?
Yeah.
They were covered, supposedly, when they were found and staged. If the first people on scene didn't see that, and then it comes out later, oh yeah, look at these pictures of the knife sheath sticking out very obviously from the side of the bed, wouldn't they question, like, wait a minute, that wasn't there when I was there?
Right.
Or not say, hey, I didn't see that on the floor.
Right.
What I'm saying is, like, in this particular case, there's a lot of red flags that to say nothing of the fact that based on Chris's book, that they never found Brian's DNA on the knife.
Okay, but JJ, why were you just saying a minute ago that you're not sure about the innocence of Koberger?
No, I said I don't
hear
think he
that
was.
right?
I never said anything about innocence, or guilt. I said I don't think he was framed. My theory all along has been that he was brought in by one of the agencies.
Yeah, FBI. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that has been my theory, and it has not changed. And
That's
I
right.
promise you, if I saw things that changed my mind, then I would rethink it. But I've seen things that have only reinforced my theory. They needed to cover something up. We all can speculate what that might be, because there's been a lot of talk about different reasons why we may have been told something that wasn't accurate and misdirected.
Right.
And so, in my opinion, they needed to have somebody for this. He may have already been working with some type of operation in the area through the funding that was going on.
Yeah.
And the multi-agency.
I remember you said that for a long time.
Yeah. And so, like, the reason, that's why I don't think he was framed. I think it's just a little too convenient. And I think that he may have been called in because they may have already had contact with him through either one of the agencies that he applied to, or research that he was conducting, one of the things he specialized in is cloud-based forensics. Look what one of the linchpins of this case was the basically cloud-based forensics. And so that's why I don't think he was framed. I know framings happen a lot. And, reading the book Framed, which I only read half of it, but there's enough information in there to tell you that people framing is very
That it
more
happens.
common.
Yep.
So I'm just simply pointing out that it doesn't mean I'm not speaking to these are bad people that were all up the chain. What I'm saying is that if, what's that saying? All it takes for evil to thrive is for good men to do nothing.
Right.
I mean,
Mm.
if you think that something like this is going, and now the reason why I think this is really important is because if this was an operation, then they're not actually framing somebody, and they know they're not framing somebody, which is why nobody has come out and said that knife she wasn't there when I walked in there. Right? Because it's an operation. There were federal agencies involved. So the police are not actually framing somebody. They're facilitating an operation. And it could be, and this is the last I'll say right now, is that if this book was meant to muddy the waters, so Kohberger gets, as far as what the public sees, released on post-conviction relief, well, then he served his duties, and now it's on to whatever the next step is going to be, which is why I always say wait and see.
But
So-
then you, oh,
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
but then you have to think too, JJ, is how many people, like you said, like if they just don't say anything, I mean, does that make them bad? Like the person that planted it or whatever? How many people would actually maybe put their job, their life, their family's lives at risk to actually say something? It's kind of like that show, What Would You Do? Do people
I know
actually step
exactly.
up?
I get exactly what you're saying, and my bigger, I guess the bigger point, I probably didn't do a great job. I get very riled up when I talk about this stuff. My bigger point is they didn't do anything wrong because this was an operation, and Kohberger is not being framed. He's
Oh, I
doing
get
his job. And so that is what I'm saying is I'm explaining why nobody said anything. I was more speaking about the fact that they are going along with something that's shielding the public from seeing the truth.
All right. So normally, this has been a great conversation. Normally, I try to keep our shows at 2 hours. Last night, we stretched to much longer, and now we're stretching it out past 2 hours again. So I'm going to try to keep us a little bit on the 2 hour schedule. I want to say thank you to the guests that came on and the great questions. I'm going to dismiss you guys. I'm going to try to get a few questions that got asked, and then I'm going to play us out with Murphy, the song that people wanted to hear again, because apparently it's not on our Spotify list. But thank you, Lenny
you. Have a
Mo.
good
And I
night,
think
you
it was
guys.
Arnold.
Awesome,
you.
awesome discussion. Awesome
Thank you
bless
so
you
Yeah.
all.
much. All right, take it easy. All right, the 25 page, I'm going to just address a few things real quick as kind of a shotgun effect, not spend a lot of time on it. The 25 pages removed was regarding Brent. I don't know that that's true, and I'll tell you why. I didn't read the 25 pages, but I did have a conversation with Chris when I heard him say something about Brent's name in reference to that chapter. And I about pissed myself because if you follow my show enough, you know that Brent Kopak has been something I've been all over. I've done all kinds of public records. He talked to me about that thing off camera. That chapter had about 5 people included in the 25 pages. And I'm not even sure Brent was one of them, but it certainly wasn't a chapter about Brent Kopaka. He listed about 4 or 5 people clearly that was listed in that 5-page chapter. So it was not an entire chapter about Brent, from what I understand from talking to him, but I didn't read it myself. Jen S says for $4.99, thank you so much. Just sending some devilish report. What are your thoughts on how intelligently Brian's messages were to his family, sister, dog, unique? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's super weird, right? He didn't include a lot, but every chapter kind of starts with a letter from Kohberger to his family or to his dog or to his sister. Some of it sounds cryptic and deep, philosophical. This guy's got some shit going on in his head, it looks like. So yeah, there wasn't a lot of it, but I thought the same thing. It was super interesting seeing a kind of a glimpse into the mind of Brian Koberger through the small, very small snippets that Chris shared. Now keep in mind, that's what Chris shared. So we don't know what the totality of those messages looked like, but what he shared simply gave us a look like, wow, there's some shit going on in Koberger's head. So that was interesting as well. Someone says, if you had rage towards someone, how does an accomplice make sense? It makes sense to me totally. You go in with a group of people to do something and you're like, but that bitch is mine, I'm taking care of her. So so you could go in with somebody to say, I need some help on this, but this person's my kill. Or if you're a group that's sending a message to somebody who ratted, you go in as a team and you make an example of somebody. So I don't think that rage towards someone excludes accomplices at all, in my opinion. Let's see. There was a couple other I was going to try to catch. Did he say anything about Dylan pointing out Gunderson during the first interview? I don't believe that's in the book. Do you guys remember anything about that?
I don't think so, no, because that question has come up, this exact question. Because I also follow the case on Reddit pretty closely every day and see what people are talking about and stuff, and that did come up.
But not in the book, but in the discussion.
I don't believe so, no.
Yeah. I'm just looking through some things to see if you guys, you guys see anything I'm missing here? There's a lot of comments, and we're just and I think we took care of. Did we get this comment done? Chris knows and offers inspiration via his experience access. Any future of truth in media will come from independent creators and armchair sleuths, i.e. us, right? Yeah. I think that's what his book said. You guys are going to have to do the work because certain people are gagged and can't talk about it. And so here's where his book is basically, here's some places you should start poking. Here's some places you should go after public records requests. Here's some places you should push on because there's fuckery in these areas. Go figure it out. Let's see what else.
And the Gunderson thing too, that was like a really, didn't she say something like that was the guy I spoke to?
I don't remember.
Yeah, she says that was the guy, that gentleman over there that helped me. And I thought she was pointing at Gunderson.
Yeah, that's kind of,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now, like my wife said in chat here, I don't even think she's backstage anymore. I think she disappeared and passed out. She said she was super tired. I don't know if she's there. Anyway, she said, Matt, the photos of the victims cannot be shown due to the law that was passed state of Idaho due to Olivia's work. I think that law, I thought, goes into effect in July, but they're already not going to release it. Remember, some of the families petitioned Hitler not to release the photos because of the families, and then they passed a law saying that we're not going to do it. So it's not going to come out. Unless somebody leaks, a whistleblower leaks it, which I do expect that. I expect that to happen, actually.
Right.
Let's see. I'm just looking to see if there's any last minute hits here that we can get to. If I'm missing it, it's because I'm trying to see what is easy to answer. So if you have a question, you think I'm dodging it, it's probably more like I just didn't want to spend another half hour talking about it. All right. I think that's, I'm speeding up, going back through a lot. So I apologize if we didn't get to, I think we did better at addressing comments than we've done in the past, partly because we only have 3 panelists. When we have 5 panelists, it's really hard for everybody to talk and then say, hey, you need to shut the hell up so I can get this comment read that's been on the screen for 25 minutes.
Can I just respond to someone asked me a question in the chat? Yeah. I think it was Jen 7S. All right, I'm going to refer to the Charlie Kirk case. I thought those messages were fake. The very flowery language, the very, all that kind of thing. And if my theory is correct, that was probably AI generated, just like the Tyler Robinson messages between him and Lance were. So that's my opinion. I think a lot of what we've been shown relating to Brian has been completely nonsense. The leaked images of him in jail. That's, in my opinion, that's all propaganda. That's just my opinion. but that's what I believe. Thank you for the question, though. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And I see I've got some people that are a little upset with me on comments they've made. We'll have to save that for another night because it's getting late, and not this. We'll have, come take the gloves off with me later, and we'll have it we'll have it on camera for everybody to talk about later. In the meantime, let's lighten the mood a little bit on the way out with playing Murphy, a song that is AI generated. I think, did Cat Farm do the Murphy song? I can't remember if that was her creation.
Yes.
Yeah, Cat Farm did the AI inspiration.
I put
put
the
that all
video
together.
to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try to get up on our Spotify list. If Robin, if you or somebody can put the Spotify playlist link in there to our Spotify list, we got a lot of our good music on there. I'm going to put the panel on the side screen, so JJ, Robin, and I will have open mics while you play out. And I'm not going to do a traditional close unless you guys want to do a traditional close. You guys want to do a traditional close tonight?
Doesn't matter to me. Whatever you guys want to do.
It's been a little long, and I think let's just go for some music and play us out with the Murphy song. All right, good night, everybody. Thanks for coming to A Crimes After Dark. I hope you stay for the song if you haven't heard this before. It's pretty good stuff.
Barking all night, but nobody hears. So far in the distance, then gradually nears. A fleeting encounter, then disappears. How did he leave? Did he fly with his ears? Murphy! He's a magical teleporting dog. It's Murphy! He's a cute and curly golden demigod. Not a mark on him, not a hair left behind. He's better behaved than all humankind. He'll clean up his paw prints for some bacon rind. Before you know it, he's gone. He's so streamlined. Murphy! He's a magical teleporting dog. It's Murphy! He's a cute and curly golden demigod. Traveling the universe through space and time. How do you do it? You're key to this crime. Are you here? Are you there? Are you anywhere or everywhere?
Killer solo.
Didn't know Murphy could play guitar. Huh?
He's a magical teleporting dog. It's Murphy. He's a cute and curly golden demigod. You're such a good dog. You're such a good dog.
All right,
Yeah.
everybody, thank you so much. Take it easy. You got to play that on guitar sometime. You can play guitar.
Yeah, there you go.
I want to learn that. It's not an easy song. I figured out the chord changes already, but that solo is not a simple guitar solo.
That's awesome. All right. Check in tomorrow night, Sunday, for the Crimes After Dark Sunday edition. Same time, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 Eastern, and see you next time. Later.
Good night,
Good
everybody.
night.